Lech Lecha Vayera were for sure Abraham. Chayesara Yitzchak was already born, and much of the parsha is seeking a wife for Yitzchak, but the seeking the wife for Yitzchak is at Avram's behest. Next week is Rabbi Yossi Yaakov Avinu leaves. So if you wanted to stretch it, you would say that the two parshas connected to Yitzchak are Chayesara and Toldos. But the truth of the matter is, the only parsha which is really focused on Yitzchak is this week. And even this week, by the time you get halfway through the parsha, Yitzchak's already given the brachas, and you have the whole drama with Yankov stealing the brachas from Esav. Yitzchak does not get as much attention as Avram and Yankov do. Yitzchak doesn't get, it's not equal time. Yitzchak for sure gets less attention than Avram and Yankov. And when you look in Chassidus, it's not necessarily a chasarna in Yitzchak, could be it's a mile in Yitzchak. But the fact of the matter is that Yitzchak gets only one parsha. This week's parsha told us. Yeah. I'm sorry? Okay, I already explained it. So of course the story begins, but Yitzchak is 40 years old, and Avram finds him a wife. His wife was an extraordinary girl. That's what she was. She was a girl, a little girl, who came from Avram Avinu's family, and she had the best brachas of Avram Avinu's mishpacha, and she's schlepped from Choron, where she lives at the tender age of 3, to come live in Eretz Yisrael together with Yitzchak and Avram Avinu. She comes to Eretz Yisrael. She's 3 years old. Can't exactly marry a 3-year-old. So Yitzchak waits till she turns 13. She turns 13. In some ways, that's an adult. And Yitzchak marries her. He waits 10 more years. Now she's 23 and he is 63. No. She is 23 and he is 60, or she is 22 and he is 59. And she still doesn't get pregnant, so Yitzchak davens. And she also davens. Just like Avram Avinu, Avram married Sarah. He did not count the chutz la'aretz years in his marriage. We don't know how old was Avram when he married Sarah. Avram was his niece. Sarah was Avram Avinu's brother's daughter. He knew her from childhood. He knew when she was born. It's possible Avram and Sarah got married when they were very young, but he didn't count fertility for the year that they lived in Chutz La'aretz. He only counted fertility from the time they came to Eretz Yisrael, when Avram was 75. So at 85 years old, Avram starts to worry. He takes Hagar. A year later, when Avram is 86, Yishmael is born. So Yitzchak makes the same cheshbon. Until 12 we're going to wait. Then he waits 10 more years. She's an akara. She's barren. She's infertile. And then they daven. Of course, it says in Chazal, this is very famous. Why does the Eibishter make it this way, that Rivka Imenu doesn't have children until Sarah and Yitzchak and Rivka daven? And part of the answer is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mis'aver l'tfilos anshel tzadikim. The Gemara says this. Hashem has a desire, has a lust for tefillah of tzadikim. So he doesn't give a tzaddik what the tzaddik needs, because the Eibishter wants the tzaddik to daven, and once the tzaddik daven, the Eibishter gives him his needs. So Yitzchak and Rivka get up on the roof of their house. They go to different corners. Yitzchak davens, Rivka davens, and the pasuk says, "Vayi'asa lo yad Hashem b'tah Rivka ishtei." Hashem listens to his prayer, not to her prayer, because einei doim et tfilas tzaddik ben tzaddik letfilas tzaddik ben rasha. You cannot compare the prayer that tzaddik of a tzaddik, the son of a tzaddik, to a tzaddik, the son of a rasha. So Rivka was like a big tzaddikis, but Rivka's father was a rasha, B'sul, and Avraham Avinu. Yitzchak Avinu's father was Avraham Avinu. So the Eibishter listens better to the tefillah of Yitzchak than listen to the tefillah of Rivka. So I heard Mapoyle Shiguterid, a pshetel, that what do you think Yitzchak davened? Yitzchak davened that Hashem should listen to Rivka's prayer. What do you think Rivka davened? Rivka davened that Hashem should listen to Yitzchak's prayer. But the Yosef Leah the Shem, the Eibush to listen to Yitzchak's prayer, that he should listen to the tefillah of Rivka for the same reason. Ein Eidoim tefillah tzaddik ben tzaddik, the tefillah tzaddik ben Rashi. You cannot compare the prayer of a tzaddik, the son of a tzaddik, to the prayer of a tzaddik, the son of a Rasha, because the prayer of the tzaddik, the son of a Rasha, is a greater prayer because he has the mile of a Baal Tshuva, from the Chassidus Rebbe, from the Polish. And Rivka gets pregnant. And her pregnancy is very, very hard. And the Rishonim all say, she had what we call today kicking. The baby kicks. A woman is pregnant, 4th month, 5th month, 6th month, the body starts to move around. The body is of considerable size. But this baby was kicking so much that Rivka went to speak to her friends. She says to her friend, listen, to my first pregnancy, you've had children, is this normal? And her friend says, no. The babies kick, but not like yours. Your babies are nuts. They don't stop for a second. So, of course, the rest of the story where Rivka goes to find out, and she discovers that this is not just ordinary pregnancy. It's not ordinary pregnancy, it's something extraordinary, because she's carrying 2 children that are going to go out of her womb, and they're going to go in very, very different directions, and they're going to be competitors for the rest of history, and the competition has already started in utero, in the rechem, they're already fighting, and that's what's going on. So there's a few different sugyas, right? One is that she goes to ask from the Nevi'im what the significance is, and the other one is that they tell her Shnei Goyim, and each one of these is a separate parsha class, you know what I'm saying? Tonight's class is on one issue only. How do we understand the nature of the in utero fighting between Esav and Yaakov Avinu? Before they're even born, they're fighting with each other. What is the meaning and what is the significance, and perhaps what is the insight, the lesson even perhaps, that we can learn from the fact that Yitzchak and Esav, Yaakov and Esav Arasha, Yaakov Avinu and Esav Arasha were fighting even before they were born. And I divided it up into 3 things. Number 1, what they were fighting about. Number 2, what is the nature of their fight. And number 3, what is the understanding of an unborn baby fighting? An unborn baby already having opinions. So it's 3 points. Number 1, what was the nature of the fight? Rashi says that Rivka would walk. She would walk by house of God, and Yaakov Avinu would run out. They say from the word Rita to run. So she was disturbed by that. She'd walk by a house of Avodah Zarah. Esav Arasha would run. He would want to run out. And Rivka became very confused. If her son is a tzaddik, he should run to Avodah Hashem. If her son is a Rasha, he should run to Avodah Zarah. Her son is schizophrenic. When she goes by a Beis Knesset, he runs out. He goes by Beis Avodah Zarah. He also runs. I saw one of the Mefarshim. Why was she going by Bati Avodah Zarah in the first place? Why would Rivka pass by a house of idol worship that Esav should have a chance to want to run out? So one of the Mefarshim I saw says that she was going there to remind herself of why she threw it off. She walked by houses of worship of Avodah Zarah to remember what it was that she understood that this is so wrong that she ran away from it. And when she would pass by, Esav's fetus would try to push out of her dech. That's the first thing Rashi says. Then Rashi says a second thing, that they were misreitzitzim, umerivim, benachlas, shnei elamis. They were fighting, they were wrestling over the 2 worlds. And you have 2 different Mamad Chazal, 2 different Midrash. One Medrash says that Yaakov wanted both worlds, Elam Hazeh and Elam Haba, and Esav wanted both worlds, Elam Hazeh and Elam Haba, and neither would give it. There was no compromise. If Esav wants both, and Yaakov wants both, they have a fight. Now the question becomes, why can't they agree, let it Esav Elam Hazeh, and Yaakov of Elam Haba? And the correct answer to that question is, Yaakov could not give Esav Elam Hazeh and take for himself Elam Haba. All Yaakov cares about is Elam Haba. Yaakov has no need for Elam Hazeh. But the Eibishter is putting Yaakov into Elam Hazeh, not just Yaakov should earn Elam Haba. The Eibishter is putting Yaakov into Elam Hazeh, that Yaakov should make this world into home for Hashem. Yaakov Avinu selfishly could say to Esav, you can have Elam Hazeh, I'll take Elam Haba. But Yaakov knew that his mission was to transform this world. So he says to Esav, this world is really yours, but I'm not giving it to you because I'm going to conquer it and transform it and earn my Elam Haba. And Esav says to Yaakov, you're interested in Elam Haba, let me have Elam Hazeh. And Yaakov Avinu says, my Elam Haba is not going to be for free. My Elam Haba is going to be earned. I'm going to earn my Elam Haba by serving Hashem and Elam Hazeh. I can't give it to you. And Esav wants both worlds also, because Esav believes in free. For free, it takes two. I'm getting it for nothing. The Sharm don't have to earn. I'll take Elam. I'll take Elam. So they're fighting over Nachlas Shtei Elamis. That's the first Medrash. And the explanation for why the fighting over both worlds is because Yankov says, if I give you Elam Haz, I take myself Elam Haba, I'm not serving Hashem, I'm serving myself. If I'm going to serve the Eibush, then I have to conquer this world as well. But there's another Medrash that's exactly the opposite. The other Medrash says that Yankov and Esav actually agreed. Yankov and Esav in Europe, before they were born, they were having negotiations. And Yankov says to Esav, you know what, you can have Elam Hazeh, and I'll take Elam Haba. And Esav says to Yankov Avinu, that's a deal. I'll take Elam Hazeh, and you'll take Elam Haba. Everybody's happy. The Nochatz Esav get machap. Esav grabbed himself by the head and says, oh my gosh. So I'm going to get Elam Hazeh, yeah? And after that, I'm going to be finished. You're going to come into Elam Hazeh. You're going to struggle in Elam Hazeh. It's going to be hard for you because it's going to be my world, right? But because you're going to struggle in Elam Hazeh, you're going to Yizechet Eschad of Elam Haba. So while you're struggling in this world, you're going to be thinking that the schar for this struggle in is Elam Haba. And what am I going to be thinking? Because I was given Elam Hazeh for free, I have no Elam Haba. So he says to Yankov Avinu, that means while I'm enjoying Elam Hazeh, I'm not going to be able to enjoy it because I'm going to be thinking about the eternal damnation to come. And while you're suffering in Elam Hazeh, you're going to enjoy the anticipation of the Elam Haba to come. So Esav says, I changed my mind. It's a medrash that they agreed. And this vertel I just told you is from the Chassam Sefer, that after Yankov and Esav agreed to split the two worlds, Esav changed his mind. And Yankov could not give in. Yankov could not. One of the things that you see in a lot of Mefashim was Yankov couldn't back off. He eventually does. But Yankov couldn't back off because he wasn't fighting for himself, he was fighting for the cause. So originally they divided it up and then Esav changed his mind. I'm reminded of a vort. And I don't have adequate time to explain it, and I certainly don't have time to take questions on this, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. And I know it's a provocative vort. It's the kind of vort that's going to get you to ask questions, but I'm not fielding them because I don't have the in the last years of the Alter Rebbe's life in Russia, this tripod needs to be replaced. In the last year of the Alter Rebbe's life in Russia, the government of Russia made gezeros on Yidden, terrible gezeros. All kinds of decrees. They made the settlements, and one of the gezeros that they made was that the Yidden have to give a huge tax, a fine of millions of rubles to the government of Russia. Amongst the tzaddikim, there was a big plukta. The Polish tzaddikim, the Abderov, and others said, we're not going to pay this tax. We're going to use our powers, we're going to use our magic, or we're going to get out of the tax. And the Alter Rebbe said, when the king of Poland asks Yidden for money, they must give. And the Alter Rebbe called Russia, the part of Russia where he lived, Poland. And the Alter Rebbe said the following. When the Jewish people were expelled from Western Europe, right? They first were in Asia Minor. They were in the Mediterranean region, in Spain and in North Africa and in Bavel. When the Yidden went across the Pyrenees Mountains, in other words, from Spain into Europe, Germany, France, the Low Countries, the Baltic states, and then of course East, Russia, Poland, and so on. So when the Yidden went from Western Europe to Eastern Europe, the Malachim of the Eastern European countries, that means Russia, Hungary, Poland, and so on, said, we don't want the Jews. We don't want them. Because wherever the Jews come, they make that country rich, then they take the wealth with them and they move to the next country. They go to a new country, they make the country rich, they take the wealth and they go to a new country. So we don't want the Jews. The Eastern European Malachim, Lamaila, said to the Eibishter, we don't want the Jews. Is he comments again, Polsha, Poland, and Poland said, we'll take them. But there's the condition. If we're taking the Jews, they need to give us a pile of gold as tall as a horse and his rider. A horse is a big animal. A horse with a rider, you're talking about 12, 15 feet from the ground. The Jews can come and live in Poland, but they have to give us a pile of gold as tall as a horse and a rider. Alter Rebbe says, any time the Polish goyim tax Yidden because of anti-Semitism, we got to pay the tax because they're giving us rites of passage. So it's a sipur with an Alter Rebbe. It's a story of the Alter Rebbe. What's the pshat? The pshat is that the malachim of the goyim said, you know, the Jews, you don't want their honey, you don't want their sting. They come to the country, they make the country rich, but they leave, take the wealth. And Poland will say, as they say in Lashon HaChazal, Dai al Atzada B'Shaita, the Jews that come live in Poland, for a few hundred years Poland will be rich, we'll worry afterwards. Let's take it. That was the cheshbon. Yidden are going to come to Poland, So the Polish countries, they become wealthy for a period of time. And when the Jews leave, we'll figure about that. This is what's going on in Esav's mind. I'll take Elam Hazeh. I'll enjoy today. I'll worry about tomorrow. I don't care about tomorrow. And then he changes his mind, and that's when the fighting starts. If two medrashim, one medrash says that Yaakov and Esav each wanted both worlds. So obviously they were fighting. The other medrash said that they came to an agreement, and then Esav pulled back because he says, I'm not even going to learn. I want to see you enjoying your suffering in Elam Hazeh in anticipation for Elam Haba. A, I'm not going to enjoy Elam Hazeh, and B, I'm not going to Elam Haba. He said, changed his mind. So those are two other explanations for the nature of the fighting between Yaakov and Esav. Now, how intense was the fight? And there's some very, very powerful chazal about how intense was the fight. The first is a medrash. The medrash says that if you want to understand the hatred of Esav to Yaakov Avinu, you have to appreciate the fact that he hated him before he was born. He didn't hate Yaakov Avinu when they lived together as children, when they played together, kugelach or whatever they played, handball, whatever games they played, and he developed a hatred for Yaakov either because he was jealous or whatever other reasons. Before they were born, he hated him. And it underscores the hatred of Esav to Yaakov Avinu. That the hatred is inherent, it's in the core. Like Rashi says in Chumash, in Pashas Vayishlach, Halacha Esav Seina Yaakov. The hatred that Esav has for Yaakov Avinu is so deep, they're not even born and they're hating each other. That's the first insight. Number two, that the nature of the hatred was that Esav wanted to kill Yaakov Avinu, wanted to kill him. But he wanted to kill him in body. You'll see how I'm developing this. I want to kill him in body. And I'm going to say this now, and I'm going to explain it later. You may be aware, but it's even a halacha, but it's certainly in found in Chassidus and Sifrei Musa, that if a person kills a person in his body, he takes away from him his Elam Hazeh. His Elam Hazeh. But he doesn't take away his Elam Haba. If you kill a person in his soul, you're taking away from Elam Haba, which is much, much worse. So if you take away a person's life, so you're a rasha. But if you take away a person's soul, then that's the worst thing in the world. So according to this insight, Esav's desire to kill Yaakov Avinu was limited to killing his body. And then comes a really weird medrash, which is pashut disturbing, where the medrash is saying Yaakov and Esav are sitting there in the rechem and they're talking, they're arguing. Now I want to say something. Because this whole story doesn't make any sense. It's a weird story. They're babies. They're fetuses. They weren't born. Most people in this room, if you'll ask them what are their earliest memories, they'll say their earliest memories from approximately the age of 5. How many of you remember your upshed? You remember your upshed? Anybody else?
I got a memory.
You remember your upshed?
One memory.
It's also a lot. A lot of people, I tell myself I'm a upshed, but what I really remember is my mother talking about it. My first, there are no pictures. My earliest memories that are concrete, I'm probably 4 or 5. There were tzaddikim who had memories when they were very, very young. The Divrei Chaim used to say he remembers nursing. And it's a fact that there were tzaddikim who say they have memories in utero. Whatever age it was.
Yeah?
There were tzaddikim who said, I'm waiting for the games to stop, Chavre. I can't deal with it. There were tzaddikim who remembered things before they were born. Now, if there were tzaddikim who lived in the last few hundred years, who had memories of the time that they spent in the Rechem, you could assume that Yaakov Avinu was in a similar madrega. In other words, if a person is born, and the Eibusha gifted them with an incredible brain, and the stronger your brain is, the greater likely you're hard to remember or to be aware and to discern, maybe it even makes sense in some level of down to earth and science and biology that Yaakov and Esav should have enough awareness in utero, and the awareness should have identified who they were, and it should have led to them disagreeing. So on this basis, there's a really wacky medrash where Esav says to Yaakov Avinu, I am going to kill you, and I'm going to be the only son, so I'll inherit the birthright, even though I'm a Rasha. And Yaakov Avinu says, no, I am the tzaddik, and I am going to be born, and I am going to be the one who inherits the bechayra, not you. So they're having this fight. Esav is saying to Yaakov Avinu, I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to take the birthright. And Yitzchak says, no, I have the right to be born first because I'm the tzaddik and you're the rasha. I'm going to be born first. So Esav says to Yaakov, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to kill our mother. I'm going to kill Rivka. They're in utero. In other words, he's going to arrange that when it comes time to deliver the baby, she'll experience the same thing that happens to Rachel in a couple of weeks from now. But the Kash, and Rachel dies in childbirth. In those days, women died in childbirth all the time. They didn't have medicine like today. If the child was put in the wrong position, okay, so the women died. Esav says to Yaakov Avinu, I'm going to arrange that Rivka should be not, that we should not be in the right position, and Rivka is going to die in childbirth. And if Rivka dies in childbirth, they're going to have to cut open her belly to save one of us. And they're going to save me. I'll kill Ma, and I'll kill you, and I'll survive. It's a medrash. In other words, Esav was such a rasha that not only was he prepared to kill Yaakov Avinu, he says to Yaakov, if you don't back away from this idea of being born first, we're in the Rechem, I know how to move, I'll make sure Rivka dies in childbirth, and because she's going to die in childbirth, neither of us are going to be delivered, so they're going to have to deliver us by cesarean section, they're going to pull me out first, and you're going to die in the Rechem. So Yaakov Avinu says to Esav, you know what? If you're such a rasha that you'll kill your own mother, you can go first. And the fighting stopped. It's like a felach medrash. Esav says, I'll arrange, and I'll organize it that Rivka is going to die. So and Taka Esav is born first, and Yaakov is holding onto his leg, and then Rashi says he should have been born first, and then later on he had to buy it from the Chol Arichas. This is a third pshat. That not only was Esav prepared to kill Yaakov Avinu, Esav was prepared to kill his own mother, that he should get the birthright, and Yaakov backs away. Then there's a fourth pshat, which is a very interesting pshat. If I said a medrash, the medrash has a lot of details, which I didn't record. I have them here. I have the details of the medrash here, but I didn't write them on my paper. But the medrash has a very interesting, what were they fighting about? Everything that Yaakov holds dear, Esav throws away. Everything that Esav holds dear, Yaakov throws away. Lamashal, we keep Shabbos on the seventh day. Esav says Shabbos is a regular weekday. Esav keeps Shabbos on Sunday, lahavdil, and Yidden say Segonish. Yaakov Avinu says you're not allowed to eat chazer, and Esav says a mitzvah to eat chazer. It's a medrash. That machet. Kol echad matir tzivuya shazeh. Each one says that the mitzvahs, however they got those mitzvahs, that you have, the other one is matir. So it's a funny medrash. But the pshat of the medrash is that Esav and Yaakov's fight is so deep that they're not only prepared to destroy each other's bodies, they're prepared to destroy each other's souls. Esav says to Yaakov, I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to kill your mother. I'm going to kill your soul. I'm going to take your religion and destroy it. I'm going to compromise your values. I'm gonna desecrate. I'm gonna violate. I'm gonna desecrate them for you. So that's like a fourth pshat in the quality of the hisroititus, the quality of the fight between Yaakov and Esav, is that Esav says, I'm not only going to kill your body, I'm going to kill your soul, because every value you have, I'm going to devalue. And Yaakov says to Esav, every value you have, I'm going to devalue. But Esav is not exactly concerned with that. Esav is more concerned with devaluing the values of Yaakov. So these four ideas describes the intensity of the fighting, right? That they hate each other from the Rechem, to kill the body, to kill his mother, and to kill his soul. Now we get to the third idea. And the third idea is what's going on? What is the meaning behind this entire episode? What is the meaning behind the entire story? And there's medrashim to support this. It gets quite interesting. And the meaning behind this entire story is, when does a person's Yetzer Hara begin? And when does a person's Yetzer Tov begin? So there's two questions here. Number one, what is the reason Rivka's pregnancy is so difficult? Is it because there's something wrong with Rivka? Or there's something wrong with Rivka's children? That's the first question. Number two, assuming there's nothing wrong with Rivka and the problem with Rivka's children, the question is, a baby that's not yet born has a Yetzer Hara. So what is the story of Yitzchak, of Rivka's pregnancy, telling us about the nature of righteousness when one is not yet born? So there's a medrash that describes Rivka having guilt till here. Rivka is convinced that her pregnancy is a meshuggah, but she's blaming it on herself. She says, I'm Besul's daughter, I'm Lavan's sister, I'm contaminating Yitzchak's seed. I married this big tzaddik, and my pregnancy, my unborn fetus, can't decide if it's going to serve the Eibush or which one is other, which is in a way worse than both. And it's on me. It's all because of me. The Midrashim say, Rivka says, Lama ze anoichi. It's a rachma. I have to die. Let Yitzchak marry somebody else, another woman who doesn't carry the evil of who my brother is and my father is, and he'll have a normal child. Yitzchak's a big tzaddik. He married me. I'm carrying the genes of Besul. I'm the sister of Lavan Arami. And my pregnancy is revealing that my bad genealogy, the rishis of my roots, is the cause of the confusion in my pregnancy. This is what Rivka is thinking. And she blames it on herself. She blames it on herself. And they bring a Gemara. If the halacha is that when a woman is pregnant and Yom Kippur comes, she has to fast. A woman has Yom Kippur is a nice. Everybody has to fast. What happens if a woman is pregnant and she smells food, and the food is somebody that she gets what they call, pregnant women get what's called a craving. My wife had 10 pregnancies. I never got up in the middle of the night to go buy ice cream, but I know guys who push it. The wife accepts, I need ice cream now. The guy goes around looking for when a woman is pregnant, she gets cravings. You have to bring her the craving. It should be dangerous. And when it's Yom Kippur and she gets the craving, so she has to eat. So the halach is, you let her smell it, you let her taste it. But if she doesn't calm down, you have to push it, feed her, because you have to protect her life and the life of the fetus. So the Gemara tells two stories. One story was there was a woman who smelled some kind of food on Yom Kippur, and she got a craving. So the Ameroyim said they should whisper to her ear, they should tell her in her ear, that today's Yom Kippur, you're not allowed to eat. So they whispered into her ear that today's Yom Kippur, you're not allowed to eat, and she calmed down. And she was like her son was Rabbi Yechonah. She got a craving, and they were able to talk her down. She didn't eat, and she was like that her son was Rabbi Yechonah. Then the Gemara tells a second story about another woman who was also pregnant, and they said they should whisper into her ear that today's Yom Kippur, you're not allowed to eat, and it didn't help. And she ate, and she had a son who was a shlap. Whatever his name was, Shabtai Eitz Pedas. He was a guy who kept fruits in a storage. That's what he was. Now the shaila becomes, what is the reason this woman reacted this way and this woman reacted this way? Is it because of her or because of the baby? In other words, a difficult pregnancy in a ruchniistic way, can it be attributed to the mother or can it be attributed to the baby? Rivka thinks it's her fault. And it's because of me. And she has to be explained, this is not about you. It's not about you, it's about the baby. That when a person has a spiritual pregnancy, a pregnancy which is difficult spiritually, it's not about the sinfulness or the righteousness of the mother, it's about the potential sinfulness and righteousness of the fetus. Like the Gemara tells those two stories, that when one fetus hears that Yom Kippur you're not allowed to eat, the fetus calms down, and that's because it was the neshama of Rabbi Yechonah. Another fetus hears that you're not supposed to eat because Yom Kippur, I don't care, I'm hungry. And he becomes Shabtai Eitz Pedas, a push the person. So this is the first idea that you have that's explaining the significance of the story. That when a person has a pregnancy, and the pregnancy is hard, we don't mean hard that the baby's kicking a lot, or they have to stay in bed because they have all kinds of other problems. The pregnancy is hard because the baby is showing signs of being a rasha. Should you blame that on the mother? You should blame that on the fetus. So the people, the times of Rivka and Yitzchak Imenu, explain to her, it's not your tzit, it's not your riches, it's the baby. Having said that, there's another Gemara, which is fantastic. And what's my source for this? This says in the Chidah. It's Gevaldik. It's a Chidah. It's a Gevaldik Chidah. We all know, we know from Rashi. Shnei goyim bevitnech, says Rashi, this goes on Rebbe and Antoninus, that was never sorry al shulchanim leitzner lechazeres lebitzikay me'akatz. There's a Gemara Masechta Avodah Zarah. Antonius, he was the Caesar of Rome, was a case. Antoninus. He lived after the Churban of the second Beis Hamikdash. And a lot of the Roman Caesars were big Rishoyim. You know, Aspasianos and Neroin and Titus, they were big Rishoyim. They were not just Rishoyim to Yidden, they were Rishoyim to their own people. But Antoninus was not like that. Antoninus was actually a good man. The Gemara tells really, really weird stories about him and Rebbe. He built a tunnel between the palace and Rebbe's house, and he would go and he would kill 2 guards each time. Antoninus was an Oyev Yisrael. He was a descendant of Esau. Doesn't sound like a good guy. You know, the stories are very strange. But there's a machlokes in the Gemara between Rebbe and Antoninus. Antoninus says to Rebbe, when does the person get the Yetzer Hara? Antoninus says, Mishas Yetzirah, from the time the fetus is 40 days old. And Antoninus says to Rebbe, no, you get the Yetzer Hara when you're born, not before. And the Rebbe says that Antoninus is right. So come on. Antoninus asks Rebbe, when do you get the Yetzer Hara? And Rebbe says, Mishas Yetzirah, 40 days after the beginning of the pregnancy. And he says, no, he brings an act b'posuk. That Mishas Niner lets it in the email. Every time the baby is born, not to the... And Rebbe agrees with Antoninus. So the Chidah explains, what's the pshat in the machlokes? What are they arguing about? And I'm going to give you first a philosophical idea to think about first. The foundation of understanding this machlokes is the following axiom, if you will. There is a very, very big difference between good and evil. There's a very big difference between good and evil. And the difference is, good is inherent. God is good. And in as much as we're godly, we're also good. Evil is learned. Bad behavior happens from life. The first example of evil that's really in the Chumash, Cain kills Hevel. Why does Cain kill Hevel? Because he's jealous. Why is he jealous? Because the Eibush took Hevel's carb and didn't take Cain's carb. So think about it. Cain is such a chassidish man that Cain feels so bad that the Eibush took his brother's carbon and not his carbon. It makes him so crazy he's ready to kill. So Cain was good. If the Eibush takes Cain's carbon, Cain doesn't get jealous. Cain doesn't kill Hevel. Why does the Eibush do it? Why keep your hand on your rub your hand on the table? Yeah. Why does the Eibush do it? Because the nature of the world is that the Eibush tests. That's how it works. The Eibush tests. So Cain's nature is also good. What's the raya that Cain's nature is also good? He cares that the Eibush should accept his carbon, but because he doesn't and gets jealous, he murders. The point that I'm trying to make from this here, this is sort of a philosophical foundation. Good is the basic nature of everything. The difference between one good thing and another good thing is how good it is. You take a person and you give him a perfect life. See, he's good. You take a person and you give him tests. What happens? It's time to read the poem. What's the name of the poem? Anybody know the name of the poem? Moving Bodies. Tonight's been not bad. I have to write it. I can look at it. I have it in 3 dimensions. No, of course not. I'm establishing as a yesod that we can argue about this. This is my philosophical axiom. Everything has goodness in it. Bad you learn. I always give the example to the kids. Do you remember the first time you told a lie? I remember the first time I told a lie. Because you have to learn how to lie. Naturally, you tell the truth. Why? Because it's right. Every creation, certainly every human being, fundamentally has good, bad has to be learned. So listen carefully. Antoninus comes to Rebbe, and he says to Rebbe, I want to ask you a question. When do you get the Yetzer Hara? Ow, 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 ow. My head hurts.
Oi! Think you're on top. Oi!
Oi!
What's the matter with you, boy?
That's right.
Watch it, I got your cat, don't worry.
Hurry up. My dead headache is with me till 10 o'clock. Hello? Antoninus comes to Rebbe. Hello? He says to Rebbe, when do you get the Yetzer Hara? Now Rebbe doesn't have a Yetzer Hara. He was born a tzaddik. So Rebbe figures you get the Yetzer Tev 40 days after the baby is conceived. So if I would have a Yetzer Hara, I'd probably get it at the same time. That's what Rebbe's thinking. Antoninus says to Rebbe, no, I got a Yetzer Hara. You don't get Yetzer Hara till you're born. And Rebbe tells Antoninus he's right. You hear? Antoninus asks Rebbe, when do you get the Yetzer Hara? Antoninus comes from Esav. And Rebbe comes from Yankov Avinu. Antoninus says to Esav, when do you get the Yetzer Hara? So Rebbe says, from the beginning of the pregnancy. Why does Rebbe say it? This says in the Chidah, why? Because Rebbe doesn't have a Yetzer Hara. He has only a Yetzer Tev. He got his Yetzer Tev at the beginning of pregnancy. So he's thinking, just like to get the Yetzer Tev at the beginning of pregnancy, you get Yetzer Hara also. So Antoninus says to Rebbe, no, I have a Yetzer Hara, and I'm telling you the Yetzer Hara only emerges when you're born. Why? Why? Well, this is my philosophical presumption. Because the Yetzer Tev is natural for everybody, the Yetzer Hara is learned for everybody. In other words, even a Rasha has to learn how to be a Rasha. And therefore, Antoninus says to Rebbe, I, who am the expert in Yetzer Haras, I'm saying you're not born, you don't get the Yetzer Hara when you're conceived, the Yetzer Hara come into the world. And Rebbe agrees with him. Wait 1 second. So this is the machlokes between Rebbe and Antoninus. Rebbe thinks that the Yetzer Hara Rebbe thinks that the Yetzer Hara is the same as the Yetzer Tev, and Antoninus tells him, no, Yetzer Hara is different than the Yetzer Tev. No, I saw your hand, I saw it. Now, on the basis of this machlokes, the Chidah explains this story. When Antoninus asks Rebbe, I didn't ask Rebbe, what's your question, Rebbe? When do you get the Yetzer Hara? From the moment you're conceived or from the moment you're born? What is he really asking Rebbe? That when my Zayda Esav fought with your Zayda Yankov, was that his Yetzer Hara? Or was that a Nes? Did Hashem make a Nes that Esav should fight with Yankov in utero? Or was Esav already a Rasha in utero? So Rabbi answers Antoninus. Your Zayda was a Rasha in utero. And the fight that he fought with my Zayda was a fight al Piderech HaTeva. And Antoninus says to Rebbe, did you have a Yetzer Hara when you were born? He says, no. So you're not a maven. I did. And I'm telling you, the Yetzer Hara is not from conception, it's from birth. B'meila, Antoninus says to Rebbe, my Zayda fought with your Zayda in the Rechem. But the fight that my grandfather had with your grandfather was not part of the nature of Esav. In other words, the very beginning of this class, we started off with the idea that the hatred of Esav and Yaakov is in utero. We're finishing the class in a different approach. Antoninus the Goy, the son of Esav, says to Rebbe, the son of Yaakov Avinu, even I don't have a Yetzer Hara naturally, I have to learn it. So when Yaakov and Esav were in Rechem, mitzad the teva of an unborn baby, they're all tzaddikim. It's true that my Zayda fought with your Zayda, but my Zayda's fight with your Zayda is not based on the teva of my Zayda. Hashem made a nes that Esav should show his rishus even before he's born, to establish for always that we should understand the separation between Yaakov Avinu and Esav Arosh. So the way you would explain it is, if we go with the very first thing we said in this class, which is that Esav's hatred for Yaakov Avinu was so deep that he hates him before he's born. Doesn't even know who he is and he hates him already. At the end of this class, we find out that if we're going to go with that idea, that's a nes. Because mitzad teva, even a Rosha, even Esav, if he hates Yaakov Avinu, only hates him once he's born. The Eibush that makes a nes, he should hate him before for the various reasons that we gave in tonight's class. Okay, we're done.